Welcome, everyone, to the Eugene City Council April 14th meeting. Welcome to everyone at home and here. We're going to start out this evening before the public forum. I'm going to invite Melissa Elliott up. She has a little something she wants to present. Melissa?
Oh.
There you are.
Hi, my name is Melissa Elliott. I'm a landscape designer, contractor, beekeeper, educator, bee advocate, and proud graduate of the University of Oregon's Landscape Architecture Department. My company, Melissa Bees, has designed, built, and maintained over 125 acres of organic, pollinator-friendly landscapes in the Portland-Vancouver metro area and in the Columbia River Gorge. I've come all the way from White Salmon, Washington tonight to personally thank you, the Eugene City Council and Mayor Piercy, for banning the use of neonicotinoid pesticides on Eugene City property. As you know, honeybees forage for food and medicines within a 2 to 5 mile radius of their homes. So anything that is applied to the land and plants eventually ends up inside the hive, including herbicides and pesticides, with often lethal and sublethal effects. Eugene City Council and Mayor Piercy, you have demonstrated responsible landscape stewardship in passing this ban, recognizing the relationship between the health of the land and the health of the honeybees. The City of Eugene is the first municipality in the United States to do this. I applaud your efforts and am honored to present you with the Melissa Be Good Award for making life sweeter for bees. Beth, would you please pass out the award? Yep.
That's what I call an award.
That's very sweet.
Continue to try to be good.
Yeah, okay, good. This is a gift of honey from my treatment-free hives kept on pesticide and herbicide-free land, from my bee haven to yours, and all of yours. Congratulations, you're in great company receiving this award. Past Melissa Be Good Award recipients include Oregon State Representative Jeff Reardon for introducing legislation to ban homeowner use of neonicotinoid pesticides in the city of Portland, and Michael J. Corsi of Washington, D.C. law firm Kelly Dry for bringing the Honeygate case against the Chinese government for illegal honey dumping. This was the largest successful food fraud investigation in U.S. history. What inspires me most about honeybees is the individual's devotion to the well-being of the entire colony. For one bee cannot live long without the care of the others. Each bee commits to doing what is needed in the hive when it's needed, for the good of the commons, for the good of the whole. I believe that that's the spirit behind your work and the Melissa Be Good Award. Thank you, Eugene City Council and Mayor Piercy, from the bottom of my heart, for your wise decision to ban the use of neonicotinoid pesticides on city property. You have set the gold standard. May cities and municipalities across this great nation and around the world rise to the occasion and follow your example. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to open our public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 2 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if known. The timer and lights indicate the time you have to speak. The red light indicates the end of your 2 minutes. And we have currently 41 people signed up. Auto Patricia is first up, followed by Deb Frisch.
Auto Patricia, 1820 Kona Street,
Eugene, Oregon. I previously sent to the council a letter through the manager about my concerns for the current process of City Hall. I came here tonight just to answer questions if you have any. The following matters are to move beyond the city's responsibility to retain what will be certified as a nationally significant architectural historic building, especially in a community that is already known for destroying its architectural history and past. These matters need resolution so as to avoid council making a serious mistake similar to the urban renewal process of the 1970s and its 40-year period to recover. To summarize, I want the council to understand that and be able to explain the waste of $6 to $8 million of community resources by throwing away the existing 125-car parking structure and 200,000 square feet of concrete frame in a community that currently cannot meet its current operating budget. The energy, green, sustainable consequences of tearing the building down, could the council in good conscience really apply for LEED certification after wasting the existing building and the energy to demolish it, then fill the site with a surface parking lot? LEED certification extends beyond simply sticks and stones for construction. This waste of the built-in energy of the existing building, plus the energy that will be used to destroy the existing, and the energy to replace 220,000 square feet of energy-efficient building frame, will require 40 years to balance that loss. Is the council prepared to explain to the public how the city will not comply with its requiring a 2.0 floor area ratio in downtown? This requirement does not allow for constructing a small building on a large on-grade parking lot. For the city to accomplish violating these 2.0 FAR.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deb Frisch is up next, followed by Mary Brandt.
Deb Frisch, Eugene. First, I'd like to alert the parties who are considering contributing to the Civic Stadium Renovation Fund to an extremely important document on the city's website. Go to the agenda for the October 16th, 2013 work session where Civic Stadium was discussed. Click on Appendix D. You will find a very detailed assessment of the cost of renovating the stadium prepared by the Chamber of Commerce. This 2009 estimate was over $10 million. In the memo prepared for the work session, Assistant City Manager Maderi reported this estimate and noted that the stadium had declined in the last 4 years, and so the true cost is probably higher. Even if the city raises $3 million in the next 5 months, it is not possible to renovate the stadium for anywhere near that amount. $3 million is not even in the ballpark. Get it? Ballpark? I encourage interested parties to read Appendix D on the October 16th agenda. Item 2. On March 5th, Ricardo Cheney was arrested for felony possession of ecstasy and having concealed weapons without a permit. Mr. Cheney had been charged with a half-dozen violent crimes in the last 15 years, but the DA chose not to press charges. He said he was forced to use a triage system because he lacked the resources to prosecute 30% of felonies. He said that Mr. Cheney's crimes were below the threshold for prosecution. On March 19th, Mr. Cheney killed a retired University of Oregon dean and a Mendocino County Sheriff's deputy. On March 24th, the DA charged a young woman with no criminal record with possession of less than an ounce of marijuana. Since this crime is probably the lowest in terms of importance, the allegation that the decision not to prosecute Mr. Cheney was due to the application of an evidence-based triage system is dubious. It is troubling that the DA is prosecuting pot users. 95% of Eugene residents are in possession of less than an ounce of marijuana. The other 5% have more than an ounce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Brandt is next, followed by Ronald Zahner.
Good evening. My name is Mary Kay Brandt, and I am in Mr. Clark's ward, and I am here tonight to talk to you about sick leave for workers in Eugene. I am a union rep. I represent Oregon School Employees Association school district employees in 9 different school districts. They have the privilege of having sick leave benefits, and it has made a drastic difference to a lot of workers to be able to care for their children when they're ill, to be able to care for themselves, to be able to have a life where they're not in fear because they're ill of taking a day off. And we would like very much to create that atmosphere here in Eugene for all workers in the city of Eugene proper. So we're asking you, like you have with the honeybees, to take a step out there and proactively consider doing something that is working well in other cities that have adopted this policy and would in fact be a great addition to a healthy community, that we aren't spreading illness in our industries and we're not bringing home from daycare or schools the issues that we carry then into our work sites. So we really are asking you to consider that. We have lots of facts and figures to give you. We're more than happy to do that, but I really wanted to say to you that I have workers. I represent Head Start as well. They're a private, not a public school, private agency. And when we started out, they did not have sick leave. And there are people that I've represented who, when they run out of sick leave, find themselves in the dubious place of choosing to go to work sick or having to actually quit their jobs in order to take care of children. And it's an opportunity for you folks to really do something that would matter in the low-income lives of our citizens. Thank you.
Very much. Ronald Zahner is next, followed by Margot Zahner.
Hi there, Ron Zahner, 85017 Willamette Street. I'm here to talk a little bit about South Willamette Street. Wanted to bring forward that there was no clamor for a bunch of people to change the striping on Willamette Street to reduce us from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. It's only a few bicyclists that have had this influence. I would ask all of you to come and go to the intersection of 29th and Willamette, where the survey was 16,000 cars a day, and ask yourself how many bicycles you see. And ask yourself if this isn't really the tail wagging the dog. Excuse me. There was no survey for the number of bicyclists that were going along South Willamette. There has been a survey that showed 16,000 cars. I've worked at that intersection for 13 of the past 26 years, and I have to tell you, there might be 16 bicyclists a day at times a year, and other times a year, 0. On cold days, on snowy days, at night, there's no bicyclists. And so what we're talking about is taking all the traffic that's going along South Willamette and channeling it down to half the road space that is currently available. And to do that, they're talking about changing the traffic light there to be an average of 30 seconds delay longer. Ask yourself, please, after here, do the arithmetic on 16,000 cars taking 30 seconds longer, and you'll find that that's the equivalent of over 130 hours a day of a car sitting still. And when you put that against how many bicyclists are going along, even if it were a tenth of that, you're still talking about sitting a car there for 13 hours, not going anywhere, using the fuel, polluting, and that goes against the idea of why we should be promoting bicycles, which is to reduce vehicle miles traveled, to reduce fuel consumption and pollution. But when you're sitting cars still at a light, not going anywhere, in exchange for very few bicycles, you're not getting anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Margot Zahner is next, followed by Larry Godux Newby.
Hello, my name is Margot Zahner. I've been a resident of South Eugene in the South Hills for 28 years, as well as a business and property owner on the strip between 29th and Willamette for 28 years. I feel like and I am for a 4-lane Willamette Street. Willamette Street between 29th and 24th is a commercial district. The idea there is for businesses to conduct business. In order to do that, we need cars to come by. Currently, 16,500 cars each day drive that road. On a good day, less than 1% of that is bicyclist traffic, and we all know that. The businesses that exist there want cars. We like cars. We want to encourage cars to come down Willamette for many reasons. Number one, it's free advertising. They see our signs. They know, oh, that's where I can go to a grocery store. That's where I can go to a hardware store. That's where I can buy a cell phone. Those are our current customers. Those are our future customers. We want cars. We're happy to take bicycle traffic, but a win-win situation is a bike lane on Portland, a bike lane on Oak. The bicyclists can go up to that one block to Willamette. They can please come to our businesses and cater our businesses, but we need those 16,500 customers to stay in business. For the business owners and the employees of those business owners, who we've estimated are between 700 and 1,000 people, those are families whose income depends on that commercial district. If that district is not vital, if that district cannot support those jobs, those are families out of work. Eugene is always critical, at a critical mass for unemployment. We need the jobs. We need the business owners to stay in business. This provides revenue for the city that you run on, that pays the salary of the planners who are coming up with this plan. It's vital that Willamette remain 4-lane, that we have the cars coming by to keep the businesses in business so we don't have the same situation we had downtown 25 years ago when the buildings were deserted. Thank you for your time.
Larry Godux Newby is next, followed by Megan Gleason.
Larry Godux Newby, 2258 Kelsey Lane, Eugene. After attending the work session Wednesday, I came away offended as a business person that the council has already decided to draft an ordinance before a forum. The only voices of reason in the room were Mike Clark, who said that the business climate still remains fragile, and George Poling, who responded to Alan Zelinka that this isn't Seattle or Portland or San Francisco or the entire state of Connecticut. I would urge you to let the businesses that are already working hard in Eugene continue to take care of their employees in the fine fashion they have. I would only hope that my councilor, Greg Evans, would join George and Mike in fighting this ramrodding of this ordinance.
Next up is Megan Gleason, followed by Donna Riddle.
Good evening, City Councilors and Mayor Piercy. My name is Megan Gleason, and I am 20 years old, a student in the Honors College at U of O, and a resident of Ward 3. I am also a co-director of the Climate Justice League and an intern for Our Children's Trust. My goal is to empower youth to organize their community in the climate justice movement. My vision and my reason for being here today is to create a safe, just, and sustainable future for all by reducing environmental burdens and increasing environmental benefits in our communities. I'm here to speak with and for the group that suffer the most today from carbon pollution, the youth. Climate change has led and will continue to increase global temperatures and also increase severity and number of unpredictable weather events, similar to the freak snowstorms we experienced last winter. The best available climate science, led by Dr. James Hansen, concludes that global emissions need to be reduced 6% a year if we want a sustainable future. And yet we see actors from all levels, international, national, state, and local, not taking adequate action. Eugene has developed goals to reduce the total local carbon emissions in our Community Climate and Energy Action Plan, but there is no binding commitment to follow through on these goals. Basically, local and state governments must do all they can to implement science-based climate recovery efforts for the sake of our children and future generations. My generation will not sit by as governments refuse to uphold their responsibility to safeguard the rights of Eugene residents to a sustainable community and future. I urge you to continue considering legal obligations to meet our city's climate and energy goals. Help us create a more sustainable, safe, and just world for the future generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna Riddle is next, followed by Brittany Quick Warner.
I have to echo the people that say 4 lanes on Willamette Street. I'm already living with Crest Drive, which gives me nightmares. So please stay 4 lanes on Willamette. But I came to talk about Whoville. I think the way it was closed down is reprehensible. It caused unnecessary trauma to the people who had, some of them had found community for the first time. It was an unnecessary expenditure of money, of I hope, if they'd known, there could be a crime all over the city because all the police were there. It was unnecessary. People could have cleaned up their own stuff instead of being told, oh, you can go put this stuff in storage and come back and get the rest of your things, to come back and find everything in a dumpster and everybody gone. I really hope that you will set up a rest stop for the medically fragile, the people who are in wheelchairs, and I think the best place to do that is across from Good Times under the Ferry Street Bridge. You can screen it with the same kind of screening that you screened the Sears Pit for years so that it wouldn't be an eyesore. A well-run rest stop there would allow people to get the services that they need. Thank you.
Brittany Quick Warner, followed by Ron Tyree.
Good evening. My name is Brittany Quick Warner of Ward 1, and I'm here on behalf of the Eugene Area Chamber of Commerce to provide testimony on the mandatory sick leave ordinance. As you are aware, the Eugene Chamber has taken a stance against the implementation of this sick leave ordinance. We want to make sure that it is very clear that the Eugene Chamber and the businesses we represent are not opposing this ordinance because we do not care about supporting our employees, but because we strongly believe that the process in which this ordinance has been proposed and the intrusion of local government on business HR policies is inappropriate and detrimental to the business climate in Eugene. Since the recession, Lane County has recovered 5,700 jobs, or about 32% of the employment lost in the recession. This is contrasted to 65% recovery on a statewide basis and 100% in the Portland region. Our recovering economy is encouraging yet fragile. We are concerned that a hastily adopted and poorly crafted sick leave mandate holds the potential for negative, unintended consequences on local job creation and regional economic prosperity. The Eugene Chamber urges you to consider slowing down the pace of this movement and take a good look at the impact on employees and employers in Eugene. In a survey of 1,100 chamber members, we returned a response rate of 17%, which is an above average rate for an external survey across the board. And of the 192 respondents to the survey, 158 of them replied they were not in favor of this ordinance. They're confused, concerned, and frustrated business owners that don't understand why the City Council would mandate such an ordinance without a conversation with them. We're providing you the survey responses so you can see what these business owners are saying to you. This is the only local survey of Eugene businesses that we're aware of. Some of you were skeptical or unimpressed by these results. We are open and willing and would highly encourage the council to work with us to further survey the impacts of this potential ordinance on our businesses in Eugene.
Ron Tyree is next, followed by Keegan Kepner.
Good evening. My name is Ron Tyree. I live at 4000 Spring Boulevard in South Eugene. I'm in favor of the 4-lane option on Willamette. I often hear this is a biker versus business issue. It's not. It's a safety issue, in my opinion. I'm a biker. I want bike lanes all over Eugene to ride, but I would never ride my bike on Willamette, nor would I allow my kids or grandkids. There's the problem with Willamette is there's too much traffic and there's too many driveways. You've got cars pulling in and out of the driveways on short turn radiuses. They're all rushing to try to get in front of cars coming. And it's an absolute nightmare if you add a bike lane to that path. What's interesting to me is that there are going to be bike lanes on Oak and Portland Avenue. And I heard another speaker talk about that. That's the solution for bikers. Biker solution is not on Willamette Avenue. Thank you. So I strongly recommend no bike lanes on Willamette and go with the 4-lane option. The other topic I want to bring up, and I can't add any eloquence to what Brittany had to say about mandatory sick pay, except I really don't believe the city has any business whatsoever in telling us how to compensate our employees. My company has great benefit plans, including sick pay, and we're very proud of that. But it should be left to state and federal legislation or rules to do that. Your intent sounds good, and I applaud you for that, but there are too many unintended consequences that come out of this kind of thing. And I would argue that it's going to hurt a tremendous amount of employees, both in hours worked and in compensation. Please take the advice that the Chamber has given. Form a business committee and understand what those unforeseen circumstances are. Thank you.
Keegan Kepner is next, followed by Jeff Davis.
My name is Keegan Kepner, and I am from Junction City, Oregon. I thought I was going to come here to say thank you. Instead, I have to say how ashamed I am at your choices. I challenged myself to walk to Salem and live as I was unhoused. I have a new respect for it. The biggest challenge I was facing was all the little challenges at once, but I can say now I do understand. Mr. Reese, and City Council, I came here tonight to challenge you to come stay with me on the streets for 24 to 48 hours. Whatever you think you can handle, I will do it with you. You need to see firsthand what I have. It's not fun or easy trying to find a safe place to sleep, but my challenges is open to any. My challenges is open to any and all. If you never been on the streets, how do you know what's best for the people of Whoville or the unhoused? If you do not accept my challenge, I will let the whole world know. I will be staying on Eugene streets this weekend. If you choose to have me arrested, well, the whole world will know about that too.
No, I appreciate Keegan being here, but no clapping.
Besides, you wasted his time. He's got
Thank
3
you.
sentences. Can he finish, please?
I think they just took his time.
Took his time.
It's fine.
Okay, thank you, Keegan. Jeff Davis is next, followed by Gordon Levitt. Before Gordon speaks, before Jeff speaks, I just want to reiterate what I've told you all many times, that it's important that Accountable Chambers be a safe place for everyone, no matter what your opinion is. So we're very adamant about no boos, no hisses, no yays, and no clapping. If that happens again, then council will get up and leave the room. Jeff.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jeff Davis. I live at 695 Oakway Road, and I'm here to speak with you about the South Willamette bike proposal. And I happen to represent, I have 2 commercial complexes on Willamette that my family and I have. And my goal is to just ask you to take a balanced approach to what you're proposing as far as the bike option on Willamette. My family fully supports bike and pedestrian traffic. The current proposal, I personally am very skeptical about, but I'll tell you what I'm most worried about, and the reason I'm here tonight is that I have, in between my 2 buildings, I think I have, it's 12 tenants, maybe 75 people and 75 families, and specific tenants of mine have communicated their fear of going ahead with your trial project and what that might incur as far as, stopping traffic to their business, and so as a property owner, it's my concern is to be a supportive owner as well as attentive to their needs, and I'm not sure if you all own property or have tenants or are in that position, but I would ask that you just ask that you have a very balanced approach, and also just please take that into your consideration. I think that as far as I'm concerned, we want Eugene to be very prosperous. I'd love to see more bikes on Willamette. I'm skeptical on the safety. I will echo what Ron said. I think that he had a very wise point, and so I thank you for your consideration.
Gordon Levitt is next, followed by Susan Day.
Good evening, councilors and Mayor Piercy. My name's Gordon Levitt, and I'm a resident of Ward 3, a second-year law and conflict resolution student and a law clerk for our Children's Trust right now. I wanted to thank you for scheduling another work session to discuss the climate recovery ordinance and climate policy in this city for May 27th. Local youth and families have already put... Sorry?
Just pick it up and put it in your...
Local youth and families have already put the work session on their agenda, so I'd like to encourage you to keep it on yours. I'm going to give you two reasons to support the climate recovery ordinance and the motion that Councilor Zelenka proposed at the prior work session. The first one is for the possibility for financial savings and a proactive investment in our community's future. While I recognize the budgetary challenges that the City of Eugene has been facing, I want to give you a little data from a few years back that the International Energy Agency put out. With regards to implementing cleaner technology, they said that for every single dollar that you invest into renewable energy, that you're saving $3 to $4 by making a proactive investment of what it would be from 10 years later. And that data is 3 years old now, and we're closer to 2020. And I can imagine that for other sectors, it's the same story of economic gain. So while there's a short-term cost, there's a long-term benefit to making sustainable policy choices. Second, the law has a long history of changing to society's adapting needs. At the end of the 19th century, child labor protections were put into place, and then we had the civil rights movement, and environmental law came in the 1970s. Climate change is the new challenge. Prior to the May work session, I'm looking forward to meeting with the City Manager's Office and the City Attorney's Office to further discuss how to craft effective policy. Thank you for continuing to consider it. Look forward to working with you.
Susan Day is next, followed by Brian Kramer.
Hi, my name is Susan Day. I live in North Eugene, Ward 7. I've worked for Albertsons 22 years now. I'm a shop steward, mom, and soon-to-be grandma. In my time at the store, I've witnessed a general attitude about being sick. If you're sick, you work sick. It's what's expected of you and what is accepted as a norm. In addition to not being paid and spreading your illness to coworkers and customers, being miserable and taking longer to get well are both complications of having to work sick. I've worked with parents who suffer both financially and emotionally when they can't take care of their children. I've witnessed people with chronic illness and pain, students, and others who can't afford to even miss one day of work. They all come in and do their best. We all work with food at some level, food you buy. I know I don't feel comfortable coming in with a runny nose in my meat department, and the only thing that stops that for me are nighttime cold meds. In my department, we work with knives, slicers, and saws. We can't risk being drowsy. I've had severe back pain that sent me to urgent care several times, requiring a wheelchair on one occasion, and lots of physical therapy for all others. Medical bills and missed work aren't a great combination for us, working poor. I've sprained and resprained the same ankle 3 times due to working on it too soon. Plus, I've had chronic severe urinary tract infections, which are virtually impossible to work with when afflicted, especially with limited bathroom breaks. I've dealt with losing family members, a daughter who miscarried, which was devastating for my family, and average yearly colds and flu bugs. In every circumstance, I didn't feel missing work was an option, and it's just kind of hard to live this way. I hope you all understand the kind of impact this would have on our lives and on everyone's lives we touch. And personally, I'd like everyone who works an honest day's work to be able to experience what it's like to be able to take a little time. Sometimes all it takes is one day of rest to heal. We're worth it.
Brian Kramer is next, followed by, and I probably mess this up, but I'll try, Brenda Kamei Enwi.
Good evening. My name is Brian Kramer. I'm the president of Emerald Valley BMX Association here in town. I oversee 3 different tracks in the county, including Emerald Valley on Leo Harris Parkway, the indoor track at Lane County Fairgrounds, and Cottage Grove BMX. Just to put it in perspective so that you understand, the BMX Association, our governing body is the American Bicycle Association, USA BMX. They oversee us. They also do all the background checks and certifications for our coaches, board members, all of our clinic instructors, all of our track operators. We take our safety very seriously with our kids. The kids that are in our charge, we have to watch out for. It is very imperative that they have a safe place in order to practice an Olympic event. So this track that we have at Leo Harris Parkway, I was informed that we were talking about moving a rest stop over there. We have 2 problems with that. One, the property in question, the 5 acres known as Emerald Valley BMX sits upon another amount of property that was given to the city of Eugene with the agreement that it would only be used for passive recreation and passive recreation only. No camping, no residency may be allowed on the property. In fact, no motor vehicles can even be allowed on the property. Mr. Poling, myself, Mr. Klein have been working on trying to get the validation of that paperwork, and yet, as of yet, since we started Friday, we are unable to find the documents and the deed yet in the county records. But we're in search of that to show that that is, in fact, the case. So even tacit approval by the city to put people there would be in violation of the agreement, of the property being in possession, having the city be in possession of that property. The second is obviously the health and safety issues. Like I said, we take the safety of these children very seriously. We have over 450 kids racing at the state championship that we hosted. Thank you very much for your time.
Brenda Kamei Enwi, and she's going to tell me all the ways I messed that up, and that'll be fine. And then Zero Van Tribal is after her.
Brenda Kamei Enwi, 4003 Dillard Road. I'm a 4J supporter, a Bethel teacher, a daily bike commuter on the Fern Ridge Path, a member of First Congregational UCC. I've never lost a job, lost a home, faced a health threat, or been without support. I speak tonight of those in our community who are unhoused and unsheltered. This is familiar to you, and perhaps weighs heavy upon your hearts as well. I hope you will see the short film of Whoville residents who spoke of their gratitude and comfort in finally having a place of their own to sleep. Without at least a 10 by 10 tent space, their security is threatened and their right to health and work and all manner of common courtesies is curtailed. In a semi-secure space, in the company of friends, this community required fewer police calls and was not deprived of sleep. Any one of us on the street to sleep for the night would be at risk of arrest, being beaten or raped, not to mention the craziness of sleep deprivation. St. Vincent de Paul performs miracles and continues the tireless work of nightly shelter, transitional housing, and permanent housing. Other churches and private groups help with meals and services. But we mustn't depend on institutions of faith alone to allay this burden. This is all of us. And on any one day, it might be one of us who faces a health emergency or loses a job or spouse and is suddenly without shelter. If it's not us, it's a person much like us. Those who are unsheltered are visible. It's difficult and not pretty. It's an economic burden, an aesthetic dissonance, and a sanitation threat. We're paying for it in myriad ways. Do we have the courage to put our best and brightest minds toward resolutions less costly than the effects of being unsheltered? This is all of us. We forget we belong to one another and that if everyone does better, everyone does better. Can we provide city space for tents and perhaps think bigger, like a care home where people spend a meaningful day and learn to contribute? Thank you.
Thank you. Zero Van Tribal is next, followed by Eric Hall. Zero? Coming.
Pass. I think you said pass.
Good evening. My name is Zero Von Tribal. I am a volunteer for Community Alliance of Lane County. I'm also the facilitator for a brand new LGBTQQAA2 SPI community group called Welcome Out. Our goal is to help the community in general and our own private communities to realize that we are more than our sexual identity, our gender, or any kind of stereotypes that might exist, whether they be for the identifiers or for community in general or for people of race or any religion such as that. I also identify as an individual with disability, and I also identify as an individual that is unhoused. I've heard several times throughout my experience that, well, why don't you go and get a job or find some way to have some income, you know, do something to better yourself. I can speak from experience. I do have income. I have done all the things that I can to better myself. But with the way things are, because I identify as an individual on the streets or homeless or unhoused or however we want to put it, my prioritized housing lists are very long. In fact, I have to wait for 3 more years before I can find anything that's within my price range. As I said, I've got income, I've got steady income. I'm going to have rent religiously every month. In fact, up to this point, I've saved up $1,500 specifically for moving into housing somewhere. It's just not possible. So the message that I'm receiving is that there is no room in Eugene for the homeless. There is no room in Eugene for the disabled, and there is no room in Eugene for anybody that's really trying to do something to better the community. Thank you, then.
Eric Hall is next, followed by Robert H. Burry, Jr.
Good evening, members of City Council and Mayor. My name is Eric Hall. My office is located at 116 Highway 99. I'm here tonight to add momentum to the idea presented by my colleague Otto Patisha with regard to the current City Hall building. As an architect, I spent much of my 20-plus year career assisting my business clients with repurposing old buildings and essentially giving them a new lease on life. There's many components of this discussion that I could speak to you with regard to, and others probably more eloquently than myself. The cities of Eugene's unbroken chain of destruction of its past city halls, perhaps the merits of the community-based design competition that this current city hall represents, or even why the Green Building Council recognizes as part of their LEED standards the specific adaptive reuse of existing buildings. But in my short time tonight, I want to touch on the embedded energy and the dollars that the current building represents. If the citizens of your community are allowed to seek out another 50 years for use for that existing building, in lieu of knocking it down and carrying it to the landfill. In Otto's and my collective years of experience, the existing City Hall building possesses several adaptive reuse opportunities. Further, our investments team stands ready to explore those opportunities and return an offer to you for your consideration. This would provide a return to the city beyond just the value of the land, but would also represent additional dollars that are tied up in the existing building. The on-grade parking, the building structural frame, and even the shell of the former uses all present an opportunity that we believe will have a value to our development group. And that means a value to the city. If we are right, our notion would not only serve to swell the coffers of the city to pay for a new city hall, but it also saves the city the additional project costs associated with it. Thank you.
Robert Burry is up next, followed by Larry Reed.
I heard of him.
That's good.
Yeah, I should have just put Bob Burry, not Robert H. I'm here to talk about tonight as a business owner in Eugene for over 30 years, having property and stores in wards 1, 4, and 8, having 26 employees, and having been on the chamber board and a member of the chamber for over 25 years. about what Jonathan Swift might call a very modest proposal. I think the proposal for mandatory sick pay for people, for businesses, a total of 5 days that you could accumulate over a period of time is pretty reasonable. We provide it. Why do we provide it? Well, we provide it because it keeps our employees from making each other sick, from making our customers sick, from making anybody sick. We just don't want to have that happen. And we would prefer not to have them show up sick. Now, who doesn't have mandatory sick pay? Who's a wage earner? Pretty much low-wage earners, people who can't afford to take a day off because they're sick, people who will come to work sick anyway because they have no choice. And once they're vested in this program and they've got 3 or 4 or 5 days worth of sick pay, it's going to help with job retention because they're not going to be wanting to leave and go to another job elsewhere when they've got some sick pay in the bank. I think that generally speaking, I don't want sick people taking care of my mother in a nursing home. I don't want sick people taking care of my kids or grandchildren in a daycare. I don't want people who are fixing my food being sick and coming to work. So I think it's a fairly simple proposal. It doesn't ask for a lot. We've provided it. It's been good for us. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. Larry Reed is up next, followed by Jennifer Frenzer.
Mayor and Council, good evening. My name is Larry Reed. I live at 4251 Scenic Drive, Eugene, Oregon. I'm speaking on the city sick leave proposal. Just because someone can think of an issue, perceive there is an injustice, or that something's unfair, or hold a view as to how society ought to work, and then think if only there was a law, mean that the city council should pass such a law. I think not. Just because an idea makes you feel good doesn't mean it ought to be a law. Such feel-good laws have side effects. Today's Register Guard editorial alluded to some of these effects. Passing this paid for sick leave law will have many unintended consequences. Oregon and Eugene is still recovering from the Great Recession. Further, Eugene already has a reputation of being an island of socialism surrounded by this ocean of reality. Do we want another law that impacts local businesses? What will be the cost to businesses? What will be the cost to the city? Will some new or startup businesses choose to lose elsewhere, Springfield, Cottage Grove, Eugene? There's even the ramification of increased traffic that's going to commute from those outlying areas to the city. What are the other yet to be identified unintended consequences? How will the law be enforced? The city has no comprehensive business license. Is this the camel's nose under the tent? How will this law lead to the demand for a universal city business license? Simply put, I don't think this law should be enacted. If it's going to be enacted, I think it's something that ought to be done statewide and done carefully and conscientiously, not at the local government level. Thank you.
Jennifer Frenzer is next, followed by Michael Kerrigan.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jennifer Frenzer. I'm in Betty Taylor's ward. I wish I'd seen more of you. I know that some of you couldn't make it, but I do wish that I could have seen more of you last Monday at the Voices of the Homeless presentation that the Human Rights Commission and CALC and the Whoville Coalition co-hosted at First Christian Church. But I think you'll be hearing some of those voices tonight and continuing to hear them. We're asking for rest stops at Autzen still. I know the U of O has raised some safety concerns, but I really think that they're misled. I think there's people already living in Alton Baker Park, and if anything, having a legal rest stop there will help with safety issues. Think about it. They have a coordinated way to help with the park host. It's not a bad idea. It's a good idea. So the U of O has not really thought through that thoroughly, and I think the BMX folks could be thinking through that thoroughly too. There's one of our coalition members who's willing to actually give security cameras to the BMX folks to make sure that their assets are taken care of. So the folks that we're trying to help out are the kind of people that reach out to community. Community has reached out to them. So this idea that homeless people are instantly a safety hazard is something we need to get rid of that myth. It's inaccurate. And it's also dangerous to them. So people in the community, like U of O, who are powerful, are saying things that are harmful to other people. We need to educate people not to say these things that are so misleading and make vulnerable people more vulnerable. It's wrong. Right now, folks are scattered. The people who lived at Whoville are separated from their possessions, and they're separated from their community. They're in dire straits, and it didn't need to happen. I wanted to let you know something.
Michael Kerrigan is next, followed by Ann O'Brien.
Good evening. My name is Michael Kerrigan, the shelter rights organizer with KELC, and I live in Ward 7. I'm speaking tonight in favor of establishing a rest stop at the City of Eugene's Lot 9, located at the east end of the Autzen Park parking lot. Ideally, the rest stop will consist of 2 separate 15-person sites. The Homeless Health Sanctuary Sponsoring Council, of which I'm part of it, is still willing to manage the site as outlined in an email sent to the city manager on April 9th. The site will focus on health issues and serve unhoused individuals with physical and mental health issues and those who assist them. The lot is suitable because it is well drained and clearly delineated so it can be easily fenced, and a green barrier added to hide the tents from public view. Fencing allows a gatehouse and restricted entry to the site. The site offers good parking and easy access for folks dropping off donations. There is good proximity to bus stops and the bike path. Access to Lane County Mental Health Services across the street and medical offices in the area will be very helpful for those residing at the rest stop. People living at the site will have to sign a community agreement requiring them to behave responsibly and be good neighbors. Therefore, we feel the site will increase the presence of responsible people in the area and will actually allow for an increase in safety for the entire park, for college students walking to and from apartments and classes, and everyone in the area residing or using the park. We've already been in communication with the Science Factory and other neighbors and intend to undertake more outreach in the days ahead. Together we can make this rest stop work, and we feel the people on site and the off-site council will be a valuable resource for Alton area neighbors. The rest stop and others already approved provide a real boost to those living there. By living in community among people they can bond with and trust, they receive the support they need to thrive and contribute in positive ways to our society. Thank you very much.
Ann O'Brien is next, followed by Linda Nelkin.
Good evening. I'm Ann O'Brien. I live in George Brown's Ward 1, and I'm here as president of Church Women United. We signed on as endorsers of the sick leave paid sick leave notion many months ago when we first heard about it. Church Women United of Lane County has been active in our community for over 100 years, and mainly we're concerned about the welfare of women and children and peace and justice. And one of our national quadrennial priorities is economic justice. That is promoting the dignity, safety, and economic opportunities for all people. Many employers realize that paid sick leave is actually a benefit for them. By keeping workers healthy and customers healthy, they end up benefiting. Wouldn't you hate it if one of your customers blamed you because one of your waiters was coughing and sneezing all over their food, and then they became ill? We know that 78% of Eugene's lowest paid workers don't get paid sick time. They're least able to lose a day of pay, so they're most apt to come to work sick. The injustice and indignity of having to choose between staying home and losing pay, and at worst losing a job, just doesn't seem fair to us. The faith community is concerned about this. I'll bet most of us have witnessed up close and personal some service worker who's come to work ill, and it feels a little bit creepy. So we at Church Women United pride ourselves on not being judgmental. And I'd like to say I understand where the fear would come from, but I also have to say, as a person with many years of management experience, the sick leave, giving people paid sick leave pays off for the employer too, and to our customers. And as a church lady, I see this as being a caring, compassionate thing to do. So we want to support this. Thank you.
Linda Nelkin is up next, followed by David Nelkin.
Good evening. How's that? Lyndon Elkin, 1925 West 24th Street. My comments tonight are titled, A Solution in Search of a Problem, No Test Needed. Willamette Street is an organically developed corridor catering to businesses, their customers, and commuters passing through. It is ironic to say that we need a plan to make the street a vibrant urban corridor, because it already is. If it wasn't, we would not be spending so much time talking about this repaving project. Yes, the pavement and sidewalks need replacing, but the basic character and usefulness of the street is already in place as it is. Let us look at the most important issues, the real triple bottom line solution: economic impact and benefits, mobility and access, and safety for all who use the street. In a Register Guard article about Coburg Road on July 7, 2013, Robert Whelan, an economist who specializes in market research for Eco-Northwest, said, quote, 98% of people who shop drive to shop. Visibility from the roadway is still the #1 criteria of retailers, unquote. That is exactly the same benefit that Willamette Street businesses have. If traffic lanes are reduced, then 500 or more cars will seek other, less direct routes. Because of increased wait times and backup at lights, the potential for business is less with fewer cars on the street. The possible increase in bike traffic with bike lanes will never replace the amount of cars lost to other routes. Remember that 3 to 6 months per year are rainy and cold, and that fact will keep biker numbers even lower. Thank you.
Thank you. David Nelkin is up next, followed by Chief Swiftfoot.
Thank you. David Nelkin, property owner and business owner on Willamette Street for 34 years. In my hand, I have a signing statement. There are over 330 signatures here of real people who have visited stores on Willamette Street. These are not from bikers from anywhere and everywhere. These are real people, and had they been counted initially in this forums that we had, option #1 would certainly be the winning option. The results of motorists finding other less direct routes is that the motor vehicle miles traveled actually increases. This increase uses resources and is counter to the Eugene policy of reducing total vehicle miles traveled. Also, cars going through residential neighborhoods to avoid delays is surely to occur with the 2-lane option. So what do we do with bikers on Willamette Street? Solution 1, provide signed bikeways on Portland and Oak Street to promote the use of the Amazon bike path with direct ties to Willamette Street. Paint those bike share outlines on the street to remind all that bikes may be using the street. How do we address safety? Speed. Reduce the speed on the street by staggering the timing of the lights on the green and red lights. Accidents. 30% or more of all accidents on this stretch of Willamette Street occur between 28th and 29th. New light at Woodfield Station, part of all the restriping options, will reduce accidents there. Safety for all. In a letter dated October 24th, Captain Mike Barnaby, president of the Firefighters Union, said, reduction of 2 travel lanes would seriously impact fire department's ability to respond to emergencies in South Eugene. What more needs to be said? The safety of firefighters and those who need immediate help is best served by keeping Willamette 4 lanes. The need for speed and access trumps all other arguments, and I urge councilors and city manager to read and reread this letter carefully. Your responsibility is to protect all of Eugene as job 1.
Chief Swiftfoot is next, followed by Art Bowman. Did he leave? Okay. Art Bowman, you're up next, followed by Joseph Newton.
Art Bowman, First Ward. I want to thank you. Every time I come to one of these meetings, I learn something new. A few weeks ago, I learned that there were cabals of Freemasons out to murder people, and this week I learned that we're an island of socialism. But There are some things I still don't understand, and we've been going through trying to document and basically figure out what happened leading up to the shutdown of Whoville. Now, one thing we found from going through public records is that transcriptions show that on the public record that the city manager specifically publicly assured the council that he would not close Whoville until there was time for transition to a new site. And numerous councilors reiterated that this was their intent. I remember several of you asking the city manager if he understood that that was your intent. However, on April 4th, while council was on vacation and 11 full days before the legal deadline for closing Whoville, when the site had already been 40% voluntarily vacated, the city manager chose, contrary to all his public promises to council, to use overwhelming police force, with basically one police person for every individual on the site of Whoville, who were basically sitting there waiting for the opening of the rest stop and who had absolutely no place to go. Now, it's recorded that the city officials have been stating that there are resources available for these people. Most service providers have said they don't have those available. I know the manager of Whitebird actually emailed the city to complain because his phone number was being posted on the staff and people were making statements as if he had agreed to do this when he hadn't even been contacted. Thank you.
Joseph Newton is next, followed by Michael Adams.
Hi, Joseph Newton, Whitaker, Ward 7, I guess, Ms. Surratt's ward. I hesitate to even address the issue to the council because the reality is that this body and the ordinances that it passes are really irrelevant to the homeless issue here. What we have for a legal existence program covers something like 60 people out of well over 1,000. And it's like, okay, so what does e-governance even mean? But at least for the sake of symbolism, you should do the right thing. You should move ahead with what rest stops, what legal camping situations you can have. The reality is, all of these people, all of us, and I just escaped homelessness myself, we have the right to exist. We will exist, regardless of the laws, regardless of the legality of our existence. We're still gonna bloody be there. Live with it. Because our existence is not something to be denied. We are gonna be there. Be relevant. Try to actually be relevant to the issue and start by disciplining your employee who was clearly insubordinate unless you yourselves were speaking out of both sides of your mouth last month. This man is insubordinate. He should be publicly disciplined. That's step one, and at least good symbolism from an impotent body.
Michael Adams is next, followed by Megan Ludwig. Michael? There?
One of these things got a lock. All right. My name is Michael Adams, and I'm, I believe, if I remember correctly, part of your ward, Mr. Zlenka. Okay, so I'm here tonight to ask you whether or not you have any compassion or if you're just a gathering of hypocrites with as cold hearts as you appear to be. Or are you a bunch of people that say one thing to our faces but do another behind our backs? With the exception of two very hard-working council members, everyone else seems to fit the hypocritical definition. Mayor Kitty, you are unwilling to use your executive power to do the right thing. You cite that it's a hard choice with regard to using it or not. Indeed, it is a hard choice when people's lives hang in the balance. to not allow them anywhere to sleep unless they are one of the lucky 15 for 3 different places. With over 3,000 people homeless in Lane County, is it really a hard decision? Other members of this council sit back and say, we have talked about it enough. Like you, Chris Pryor. Before council's break, you were part of the landslide vote not to discuss this, and this was your reason why. Councilor Evans said it best when he said that more help is needed from other higher forms of government. But where is that help? Does it take a mass death count to get everyone on the same page? The memorial for those who died while homeless was pulled down the same day Whoville was ceremoniously pulled down. I say ceremoniously because you wasted a ton of taxpayer dollars. Does the public know that there was an offer to clean it up for free at no cost to the city? Yet your city manager chose to use taxpayer dollars. You say you're working for the greater good. I say it's time that you realize you work for us. Us being the community, not a select group of people, the community, and not the big elephants in the room.
Megan Ludwig is next, followed by Vicki Nelson.
Hi, I'm a resident of Whoville, or an ex-resident, so whatever word you want to call that. I was told when I left Whoville by the cops as they were there to raid the place that I could take my stuff, put it in storage, come back, and get the rest of my stuff as long as progress was being made. When I came back to 2 bulldozers and a fence. Not one person I knew, not even the cops I talked to. When I went to storage facility that they said my stuff was in, not one thing I owned was there. I lost my tents, my tarps, my tampons, my brush, my shirts, my everything I own. I have back there a couple of backpacks of crap that I've been assembling since I've left Whoville. I still have no tent. I still have very little things. I was just told by this guy that I couldn't drink water out of my gallon jug, one of the possessions that I own, while I watch all of you drink out of your little personal possessions, because you can't walk to a water fountain, but I have to. And this guy over here who owns a store on Willamette Street that said, real people? What are those, the people that shop in his store? The people that don't ride bikes, the people that drive on Willamette, the people that have money? This is a joke. You people really need to think about what you're doing. And this guy right here with the middle finger, I know you put 2 fingers up now since that picture, but you still really need to think. This is a joke. You guys are a joke. And what you've done is offended people and hurt people, and you are wrong. Thank you very much. Love you.
Vicki Nelson is up. Can't do that. Followed by George Rhodey.
Vicki Nelson, George Brown's ward. I want to talk to you about the University of Oregon in Whoville. First of all, I'd like you to please enter the letter from the UO that Councilor Clark referred to at last week's work session. Put it into the public record. It is obviously influencing him and perhaps influencing other counselors and staff as they make their decision about the rest stop. So I'd like to know what it says. As someone who worked at the U of O for 22 years and who has degrees from there, I want to express my extreme disappointment in the university's reluctance to step forward and help, and instead to throwing up barriers to citing a rest stop. I also want to caution the city against paying too much attention to any letters or what you hear from the university. Many different interest groups exist there, and they do not speak with one voice. Administration and athletics are too. They have the biggest bucks and they make the most noise, but they are not the university. The students and the faculty are the heart of the university. The young men and women who consider or choose the U of O are not children who need to be protected from distressing realities. They and their parents live somewhere where homeless people exist. They've seen them. We don't have to hide the realities of the world from them. They are going to college to learn about the realities of the world. According to the UO's mission statement, students choose the U of O to learn to live ethically, to become innovators who generate new knowledge for the benefit of humanity, to learn to cultivate an attitude towards citizenship that fosters wise exercise of civic responsibilities. Wow. They could have taken a seminar in Whoville, and that mission would be accomplished. Listen to the names of the subject areas in which the UO offers degrees: community and regional planning, conflict and dispute resolution, counseling psychology.
Thank you.
Do you think people who want to know about that need to hide from the homeless? Whoville lives.
George Rody's next, followed by Dorothea Markham.
Good evening, councilors and mayor. I'm a business owner for 38 years in Eugene and on many, many different nonprofit boards and other boards in the police commission, the citizens review board. I love Eugene very, very much. I love this community. And I want to thank you all for your considerations of what I'm about to say. I've emailed you all my feelings. I won't repeat myself, other than businesses are a fragile thing. I'm a counselor at SCORE. I see a lot of businesses come in that barely struggling to go on. And I'm going to call it another tax on businesses. For the mandatory sick leave would be a hardship on many, many businesses. What I fear more than anything is our tax base. These businesses go out, they'll move elsewhere, and that takes away from the tax base. I want the council to consider that your revenue is in taxes, and the more you scare away other businesses or businesses don't come to town, the worse the economic situation of the city. Think about the enforcement also of this. That is going to cost a lot of money to be able to enforce it, to have a reporting system, to the policing of it. So I would so kindly ask you to reconsider it. It is, employees can go to places that do provide benefits, and I provide benefits for sick leave, but it's a choice between sick leave or vacation time. And there's a possibility that if there are some folks that have, if they're given sick leave, they will use it not for the sick leave. Thank you very kindly for the consideration.
Dorothea Markham is next, followed by Scott Lanfield.
My name is Dorothea Markham, and I live at 1716 Adkins Street in Eugene. And I just wanted to talk about the lack of sleep, the effect of that on the unhoused. Sleep is a biological need, just as the need for food and water. The lack of sleep has been used as a form of torture. And I want you to think back on days when you have only gotten 3, maybe 4 hours of sleep, the effect this has had on you. Think back to how you felt that day. You were dragging, have difficulty concentrating, maybe you were feeling irritable. And think about how that would be for you day after day after day. What a compounding effect that is. And that's what our unhoused brothers and sisters are dealing with every day. And for those that have a mental illness or substance abuse, it has an even more drastic effect. So, for example, a person that has bipolar illness, a lack of sleep can often turn into a manic episode. Our unhoused sisters and brothers deserve better than this, and we owe them better than this. They need a place to live, and we need to work together to house our brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Scott Lanfield is next, followed by David Stroyhan.
Scott Lanfield, 29 West 31st. First, I'd like to thank you all, thank the city for planning new wider sidewalks, whatever the plan is on Willamette Street. I spent about 14 hours shoveling through the storms to keep my business open down there, bookstore. Some of the people who are in favor of 3 lanes just closed their businesses. We needed to keep ours alive. I'm here because the overwhelming majority of my customers, which include a lot of bicyclists, a lot of ecologists, important people in those places, don't want 3 lanes there. For each has their own reason. Also, being a bookstore, I get probably as many complaints as you city councilors. All the neighbors on Oak and Portland are in a panic about this because they're already seeing a huge increase in delivery trucks and cars. I know I take Oak Street to go to my business. You know, I live up on Portland. I take Oak to go to my business because it's a little quicker, it's a little easier. They're upset about that. They're very much in favor of having bicycles on their streets. They're not in favor of having this delivery trucks. They're not in favor of having the cars. I'm real adamantly opposed to any experiment. I'd say each one of you go out there and experiment with your own damn business. You know what I'm saying? You don't have any insurance policies to cover us. My business is one of those marginal businesses. Sure, I can pay the sick help if I have to, but you're going to break the street down for a little bit. If my business drops 10%, I'm out of business. You experiment with your own business on that stuff. Then, the other day I was driving to a book sale. 3 boys on skateboards between 24th and 19th. 1 on the proper side, 2 on the improper side. All 3 against the law.
Thank you. David Strickland is next, followed by Gene Stacy.
Hi, councilors. My name is David Strahan. I'm a Lane County resident, Egan volunteer, volunteered on the Mayor's Eugene Cares campaign. I wanted to talk to you about the City of Eugene's identified nearly 3,000 homeless. I wanted to talk to you about the thousands of tax dollars saved by the compassionate supporters of Whoville, and to talk to you about the ongoing persecution of the homeless here in Lane County, and about the falsehood spread by our own city manager. Instead, I really want to talk about one person I met over a year ago who had over 600 interactions with the police and cost nearly $1 million. That person's Carrie Miller. I had an opportunity to meet Carrie Miller as an Egan volunteer, and I got a chance to see the real Carrie. I got a chance to see the real Carrie after months in Whoville, where she had a place to be and a family supported her. I got a chance to see the real Carrie after 5 days of staying at Egan. I got to see the real inside of her. I played rummy with her. She beat me 3 hands out of 3. Anybody who's known Carrie knows that had never happened on the streets with her. After the closure of Whoville and her eviction that had saved the taxpayers thousands of dollars, I got a brief glimpse of Carrie again on the street, mired in her addiction. You as a council have an opportunity to make a difference in this and to save the taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars, not just in the one Carrie Miller, but in the hundreds of people we could potentially save through a housing shelter. Do the right thing. Support a health sanctuary. Don't hide.
Gene Stacy is next, followed by Ali Valkyrie.
I am Gene Stacy. I'm currently, I believe, in Claire's ward. I really don't know what to say tonight. I feel I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. There's a lot of things that have gone wrong. I think all of us are responsible. I'm not happy with some of my tactics, and I'm not happy with some of yours. We've got to figure out how to do things better. Real people are really suffering. Some of them are in this room, but most of them are scared to even come in here. All of you practically have said directly to John at a public hearing when he said, our intent is not to just go in and shut down the site. Our intent is to provide time for people to transition to whatever site the council chooses. Chris, you made it triple clear with John that that's what you wanted. Alan, I have your quotes too. Claire, you made it clear. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And there was no reason in 6 fucking hours 11 days before the deadline, it was shut down. It's all of our fault. All of us. We've got to figure out how to do it. Thank you.
Allie Valkyrie, followed by John Monroe.
Allie Valkyrie, Ward 1. Last Monday, the City's Human Rights Commission co-sponsored a town hall-style forum called Voices of the Homeless over at First Christian Church. I'm sure you know because you were all invited, but out of the 9 of you up here, only 2 of you attended. Now, if it was a forum solely put on by individuals or activist groups, I might understand why the mayor and the majority of the council would be absent. But the Human Rights Commission is your own advisory body on human rights. That's literally their job, to make you aware and educate you and the city on human rights issues in this town. And most of you still didn't find it important enough to attend, and frankly, those who did attend didn't need the education nearly as much as those who stayed home, with all due respect. I really think that's a bit in the slap of the face toward the Human Rights Commission, just as much as it's a slap of the face toward the homeless. Although what you gave the homeless last week was much more than a slap in the face. You spent $50,000 of taxpayer money and sent in 2 mobile command units, 3 jail vans, 3 dump trucks, 2 pickup trucks, 2 minivans, multiple patrol cars, 2 SUVs, 7 motorcycles, 30 uniformed officers, and at least 20 other city employees. And I have photographic evidence of all those vehicles. The same city didn't want to spend 1 penny for the rest stops, wasted $50,000 in a disgusting show of force to terrorize 30 of our most vulnerable citizens. That $50,000 could have housed them for several months. Instead, you terrorized them on the public dime, and in doing so, you went against your own promises and assurances that you made on the public record. And at this exact same time it was being evicted, the homeless memorial on the city mall fence was torn down. The mayor publicly stated she doesn't know who's responsible. City staff has said they don't know either. Personally, I don't believe it. I believe the city was absolutely responsible. However, put your money where your mouth is. It was an act of vandalism. Where is the police investigation? That was a desecration of a memorial on public property. I expect an investigation. I expect surveillance footage to be studied. I expect the person responsible to be brought to justice. And if it was a city staffer, they can not only face the consequences of lying to the mayor, they can face the same legal consequences that any private citizen would for vandalizing a memorial to the dead. Shame on you.
John Monroe. Sue Saralupi is after you.
John Monroe, downtown. Unlike many of my comrades in this struggle, I have no faith in a class of political invertebrates to do anything else but to serve the banal iniquity of all the commercial interests. You can smirk, but people are dying and being raped right now, Mike, because of your government's incapability to take economic crises seriously. So, on that note, y'all have forced me to get positively biblical, and I found quite a bit of resonance with Isaiah, who in book 6, verse 10 says, "Hear and hear again, but do not understand. See and see again, but do not perceive." I couldn't find a more elegant or succinct description of this government's inability to address the massive human suffering issue in this town. I can see that you all demand the respect and expect to be treated as nothing else but people who are serving the public interest, but it's very clear, based upon the statements made by your manager and by your chief of police, that the only interest at the end of the day you're going to serve is your own bureaucratic protection and the businesses that tell you what to do for the Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Business Association, Midtown Business Association, DEI, and various other hiding organizations. So on that note, being in a Christian country like we are, another quote from Isaiah, book 10, verses 1 through 4. "Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey and robbing the fatherless. What will you do on the day of reckoning when disaster comes from afar? To whom will you run for help? Where will you leave your riches? Nothing will remain but to cringe among the captives or fall among the slain."
Sue Saralupi is next, followed by Scott Peary.
My name is Sue Saralupe,
and I am in George Brown's ward. I, too, witnessed the Whoville eviction apprehensively, and to my inexperienced eye, this cost our city, taxpayers such as myself, thousands and thousands of dollars. Vacant lot defense is not a priority to me personally. However, I did take a minute to think about the untapped funding that was available. It surely does not come as a surprise that I do not approve of the way all of that money was spent, and I would be remiss if I did not offer other suggestions for the extraordinary funding that is available for such agenda items. I would like to see more tax money used for projects that create a return. The Step Home project estimated that every dollar spent on social services equates to $9.45 return investment in the short turnaround time of 1 year. Since so much of our city's extra cash went to the Whoville eviction, I would suggest funding a smaller but desperately needed project, Secured Sharps Containers. With diabetes skyrocketing in our community, using our resources to help almost between 6 and 25% of our population to help them with their diabetic care would seem a smart use of our money. The increase in insulin needles require proper disposal. We really don't want 8-year-olds running around our parks with used needles in their backpacks. A secured sharps container in public parks and public bathrooms will make our city a safer place. Needle litter is expensive to clean up. Needle stick injuries are potentially life-threatening.
Last up, Scotty Puri.
Scotty Berry, George Brown's words. I'll try to attempt to inject a little comic relief here when I quote the unimpeachable wisdom of Jack Handey. The perfect deep thought to sum up rather succinctly the subtext of the city staff's relations with us leading right up to the dismantling of Whoville a couple of Fridays ago, when Jack Handey says, "Broken promises don't upset me. I just think, why'd they believe me?" It's really a slap in the face to the citizens who, often against their better judgment, gave the city the benefit of a serious doubt and thought that the city was going to be dealing with us in good faith. It's a slap in the face to the citizens who answered the city's call for community collaboration in addressing this crisis and who spent countless hours of their time and energy in doing so. And then to find the homeless memorial at City Hall taken down the very same day as Whoville was taken out was salt in the wound. We've inquired time and time again as to who was responsible for this heinous action, and we have received staff doesn't know. And if that is the result of the investigation, then someone needs to investigate the investigators. But today I'm here primarily to testify as an alumnus of the University of Oregon, where I spent tens of thousands of dollars at that institution of higher learning, and upon graduation, spending the last 20 years sharing the skills I learned there and helping make this community a better place to live. And now I want the university to step up and do the same. If they're going to remain steadfast in opposing a rest stop in their backyard near Autzen, then they are missing a golden opportunity to give some of our community's most vulnerable citizens a sanctuary, as they also embark on an educational effort that could take incredible strides in mitigating this emergency. There's so many different departments on campus that could find an angle by which to engage and contribute. We could start with the undeniable premise that housing first saves lives and saves taxpayer money. We all know this, and the only justification in putting up further roadblocks to this grassroots model that works are the ignorant and prejudiced stereotypes toward this population. And both the city and the university have a moral imperative in publicly confronting and publicly debunking these myths.
Okay, I'm going to close the public forum, and I'm going to ask if there are any comments from council. I don't. Yeah, Councilor Surratt. Sure.
So I just wanted to go back to the very, very beginning of our meeting where we had the happy moment of being recognized for the banning of the neonicotinoids on our city property. And I want to acknowledge City Manager John Reese because he was the one who took the original proposal, which was to do the ban just in our parks and open spaces, and expanded it to include all city-managed property. So, John, you should have gotten one of these as well. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, with that, we will move on to the consent calendar.
I move for approval of the items on the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Counselor Taylor?
I have a question about item item C.
Mike Slaughter and other things. Would you see that? Yeah, we'll make sure. Thank you.
Should I ask the question now, or do you want to?
Go right ahead.
Okay. How much does it cost the city to survey the property line?
The what?
Survey property.
The surveying is up to the city is going to put the expense of the surveying. How much does that cost?
I'm sorry, I was...
It's item C, John.
Cost of surveying in item C.
I'll have Eric Wold address that for you.
I wonder why the city would bear the cost rather than the property owner if it's...
I think we may have an answer up here.
So in terms of the survey of the property lines along Amazon Creek, we actually did the survey work for all of those properties about 2 years ago. So the final piece is to actually, for the property line adjustment, would be to create the documentation then that's used to actually execute the property line adjustment. But we did the survey because the Army Corps of Engineers regulations required that we clearly delineate the boundaries along the entire length of Amazon Creek where we have levees, which is essentially in far west Eugene, downstream of the railroad tracks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'm ready to vote on the consent calendar. All those who approve of the consent calendar, please raise your hands. 8 in favor, none in opposition, it passes. Next item, item 3, resolution authorizing the application for an electronic commerce designation in the West Eugene Enterprise Zone. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. The council is being asked to consider a resolution that would authorize application to the state for an electronic commerce designation in the existing West Eugene Enterprise Zone. E-commerce designations are authorized under state statutes as an overlay to enterprise zones with the goal of providing an incentive to further encourage electronic commerce investments within the zone boundaries. Qualifying businesses may receive a state tax income credit based on the new investment made within the zone. This designation is considered to be an important tool for the potential sale and redevelopment of the former Heinex facility.
All right, Council President, oh, you have a question you want to ask first? Did you have your hand up?
Put the motion out.
Okay, put the motion out.
I move to adopt Resolution 5104, authorizing application to the State of Oregon for an e-commerce designation in the West Eugene Enterprise Zone.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Zelenka.
So, John, we applied for this once before in 2010 when there were 10 designated sites, and we didn't win in that to get that site then. And now there's 5 more that are up.
And I'll have Denny, he can talk about the specifics.
Yes, council approved a resolution, actually it was in July of 2012, and we submitted an application, but we weren't successful back in that round. There was only one zone available, and it went to one of the communities up in the Portland metro area. Recently, the legislature created 5 more zones. Instead of 10, we now have 15 available, and so they are requiring us to adopt a more current resolution before we would apply for the designation.
There's 5 more. The ones that are already designated stay designated.
That's correct. There's 10 plus 5 new ones that we will compete for, so to speak.
And it's only a state income tax credit, so it doesn't affect our tax revenue.
That is correct.
On that property. Okay,
Other questions? Okay, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. None in opposition. It passes. That concludes the business of the day. Thank you.